Right, today I'm working on this my car, a Mitsubishi Galant GLX SE 2 litre. I've had a brake problem with it on and off on this one cylinder, so every so often the caliper seems to stick and it'll burn a set of pads out, and everybody's had a go at sorting it. But anyway, at the end of the day I decided the easiest option is just to replace the caliper, and hopefully that will cure the problem. You see all that? It's quite easy to change, but we'll get back to that in a minute. First and most important thing is to make sure that you've got plenty of brake fluid in your reservoir. Okay, keep it topped up. Mine is just on the mark, yeah. So I'll keep an eye on that. I'll top it up in a minute because you're going to be bleeding the brake. Right, back round to the caliper. So anyway, screwed the new pipe on, and then I screwed the caliper onto the new pipe. Now you've got to bleed it, but you know, if you actually just open the valve and just let it gravity feed while you're doing the rest of the job, it'll be most of the year, because I've clamped it while I took off the old one with this just an ordinary wee C-clamp. Clamp the hose, squeeze it tight. Don't cut it, but squeeze it tight just to block it. And then that stops fluid running out. And when you've got your new caliper on, just open the valve and just leave it for a minute, and it'll slowly gravity feed. This is when you're working on your own, because there's nobody here to give you a hand. And then we can bleed it later with a rubber hose onto it, down into a jar with some old fluid in the jar, and I can go in and press the pedal 2-3 times, and any air will come out in the jar. However, since we're here and the MOT is due, I want to adjust the handbrake. Now, I'd already previously backed off the handbrake on this, because I thought initially that maybe that's what was causing it to heat up. Anyhow, it isn't, but of course now it's slacker than the other side. So I'm going to pull the drum off and adjust the shoes out. Put them back in. Now, when you turn it, that sounds terrible. You can hear the noise. But when there's if you take one of the wheel nuts, as I was saying, if you take one of the wheel nuts, screw it on, till it pushes the drum on tight, and then spin it. See? No noise, okay? So that's how you know it's not binding. Okay, so take that off, and then I'm going to mount the camera on the tripod and I'll pull the drum off. Now, if the drum won't come off because you've never taken it off and the shoes are expanded out and they're touching the inside of the drum, well, you'll have to pull it off. Or, that's where that hole therefore is. And the adjuster, I believe, is down here. And if you look in with the torch, well, we'll see it once you take the drum off. There's a ratchet which you can put a screwdriver on, and you can unwind, shorten the bar, which pulls the shoes in, allows the drum to come off. Okay, you can adjust it the same way. Me, I prefer to do it by hand and put the drum on to try till it's just clear of it, and then that'll do. So, right, so because I know my shoes are backed off pretty much a long way, so we did work with the handbrake on just. I know I can pull my drum off by hand, but you see, you may not be in that position, you may have to insert a screwdriver. Mine will come off. You can tell by the lack of shine that it was barely touching, because the handbrake is there. And this, there's a few cars use this system, Vauxhall. Shoes are getting thin, but then, you know, all they're actually doing is holding the car, so you're not actually breaking them, so they don't have to be that thick anyway, as long as the linings are firmly on. However, we are going to show you where the adjuster is. But you know, the dust is not that good, so give everything a good spray with brake cleaner. You can buy that. Dirt cheap. What it cost me? $1.49. Worth its weight in gold. Get yourself a Significant. Takes dust down, means you're not breathing it in. Doesn't harm the shoes. Fine. Now I'm going to show you where the adjuster is. Right, there's the adjuster there. See? There's a cogged wheel which turns. Turning it one way or the other moves the shoes. This moves it in, that moves it out, tightens them. So that's what I'm going to be doing, adjusting it that way. So if you had to put your screwdriver in and you had to slacken the shoes, in this case you'd be turning it up that way. You know. Got it? So I'm going to be doing it by hand, trying them on and off until the drum's a tight fit again. I'm going to put this back on the tripod. I just wanted you to see where the adjuster was, so you know what you're doing. So a big flat screwdriver in that hole on the drum, that extra hole there, and that's how you wind back your shoes slack enough to get them off. Okay. Right, so I'm going to start adjusting this out the way. So I want my shoes to be going that way. I try the drum on every so often. So we know that's still too free. Of course, if everything was seized, you'd have to get all this off, clean it up. But you know, generally speaking, usually they're quite good. Not that often you have to do it. Right, I've adjusted mine up, and when you turn it now, remember I put on the nut again, just catching a little bit there. That'll be due to little brake drum warp. You know, people come in after a fast run. This is very much in regard to drum brakes. People come in after driving fast all for miles, come into the house, stop the car, yank on the handbrake. Now, handbrake touching in two places in the drum, so then the drum starts to cool, but it has to cool. But it can't, so this part cools, but the shoe's here holding the drum. That's it, I think. That's how you warp your drums. It's as simple as that. However, mine is not like that, but you can still have a hot drum. Still the same thing, you know. You could come in after a fast break, after a long run, and the discs are heated up to a reasonable degree. Yank on the handbrake, leave it overnight. It cools down at two different paces, and you can create this little tight spot. And that's it. Now, I could back it off a fraction, which I most likely will. But first, I'll go and have a look to see how far up the handbrake's coming. And take note, since I have the car jacked up pretty high at the back, so both wheels are off. Well, obviously then the handbrake's not working. So I throw the car is in gear, switched off, put a stone in front of your wheel. I put a stone in front of both wheels. One is a wedge shape. Just saves the car running away on you. It's rather embarrassing. And it can fall off the axle stand, and you should use an axle stand as well for safety. Not that I'm under it. As you probably noticed, I like to sit with my legs under. Right, handbrake. So, it should come up. It's one click, two clicks, I know it's already on, three clicks, it's on pretty tight, four, I can pull it up four, and I can't pull it up five. Okay, 3 clicks, 4 clicks, good, 6, 7, 8, 9 clicks. Need an adjustment. You decide, but on average, it goes up 1, 2, 3. Should be holding. 4th is definitely holding. You could probably put a 5th. That's really tight, depending where you leave it. But 4 clicks would hold this car no bother. Right, now by going inside and pulling the handbrake, I've centralised the shoes out. So now the binding bit, a wee bit too much. It's not bad, like, but it will cause this to heat up. So I'm going to back it off a wee bit. Okay. Right, in my brake pad kit, no I tell a lie, in the brake caliper kit I got the 2 new clips which fit on here. They go on that way, just push them up, like so, one there, and that one down there. Right, that's what your pads are going to sit in. You get 2 pads. Well, you get 4 pads, but I'm doing this side, so obviously I'm just showing you this side. That is your wear indicator. And when the pad gets down to the level that starts to touch disc, you'll notice when you reverse you hear the squeak. What the hell's that? And that is because your pad looks like that. See? That's the difference. That was because my caliper's different. I did more of the pads. That was a new set of pads 2 months ago. Normally should do about what, 25, possibly 30,000. I wore them out. That's 2 months, and this was getting pretty hot. That's how I knew they were buggered, because that was squealing. So that's what that's for. Which way does it go in the caliper? Well, hang on and I'll show you. Well, before we get that far, I'm running ahead of myself here. Brake cleaner, wherever it is, I will find it. Here we are. We're going to spray in that holes so we clean out all the old crud. We use a different word here, but we'll just call it crud. Rubbish, garbage, dirty grease, whatever. Grit, anything you got in there. And then we have 2 new rubber boots which will fit in one. Well, you can see the way there. And they fit in, push that into that hole so that it stays in it, like so. And that will be what that one looks like, and the same on this side. But anyway, first of all I'm going to clean them, so you don't really need to see that, but spray it with something. WD-40, brake cleaner, any solvent that will clean out the old rubbish, and let it drip dry for a few minutes. And then, because I got 2 new bolts, we'll put some silicone gel on them so that they can slide in and out. Right, it's all cleaned out. The new rubbers are in place, no splits, all ready to accept new bolts, slides. I haven't greased them up yet, but I will now. I'm going to fit this first, okay, so it fits on that way. Right, this is held on by 2 14mm bolts. Now, I always suggest, just a suggestion, if you're going to do things in cars, get the right sockets, you know. We used to call them surface drive sockets, but I believe nowadays they call them, they have another name for them nowadays. But when they were introduced a way back in the 80s, I'm sure they called them surface drive. Anyway, point is, they have a flat surface, so you don't round the nuts. Because some of these nuts can be in there, bolts in this case, for a very long time. And I can assure you, it can take some pressure to get them out. The last thing you want to do is round it. So 14mm does the back. I believe it's 17 it does the front. So 14mm holds the caliper on, 14mm holds the caliper slide. Holder. Okay. Right, when you're putting in this 2 bolts, put in the bottom one first. Just don't tighten it up too tight, just put it in enough to hold it on. Finger tight. Put some copper ease on them. Copper slip, copper ease, whatever you want to call it. And then put in your top one. It just works better. I don't know why, it just does. And if you put copper E's on it, then the next time you have to take it off, it won't be half as difficult. And if everybody did that to the things when they were working on them, life would be so much more easier. Some people, I say some, not everybody, takes the new pads and they take the paint off in the gaps so that they sit freer on the slides. Can cause them to rattle. It's up to you. I just give them a wee rub just to make sure there's no bits sticking out. You don't want them rattling around when you're going over bumpy roads. And don't get grease all over the pads, because for obvious reasons. Better. If you didn't. Anyway, get the idea. I don't want to show you too many boring parts, so I'll stop there at the moment and must go and find my copper E's. Right, while you were away, it's not easy with one hand. Hold the camera in this hand. We're going to top up this bottle, yeah, without spilling. Hang on, he's going to spill it, because we're going to bleed a little fluid. And don't get it on your paintwork, because it will remove paint. Unreal. Okay, so I've overtopped it up because I know that I'm going to be pumping the brakes, so I'm going to be getting rid of that excess, okay? To make sure there's no air in my brakes. How do you know when there's air in your brakes? You have a spongy pedal. So when you put your foot on the brake, it feels spongy. It may even go to the floor. Not a good idea. Anyway, that's just another thing. My copper E's. Favourite stuff. And that's what I'm going to put on the slides. Okay. Now, you don't want grit or crap or anything else getting in to any of the other things. So I'm going to put this back on the tripod, so hold on. Right now, don't forget to tighten up these bolts, you know, because your life may depend on it. You know, you can't. There's not a lot of room, but you can put a spanner at the end of that and give it a wee knock. Yeah, I don't know what the pound is just meant to be, but make it tight. Don't over tighten it, but you don't want the dash thing coming off. So hit it a few times in your hand. And then, as I say, if you haven't got room, get a spanner. Get a wee bit more. That should be more than sufficient. And my old friend, the copper E's. Put some on your finger. Put it on that. You don't want it on the disc. It's just a wee downy. Just so that it slides. You know, each of them. Doesn't have to be loads. Just sufficient. Okay, and put it on the pads. Put it in there. On the holes. On the gaps. Just don't stick it on the face. Right? And you know, I've done the other side. And you're left with two pads that pretty worn. But, you know, don't throw, if there's a little life left, which there is, just a little, on the wear marker. But it would take you out of a hole if you had to. Till you got another set. Anyway, here we go. So we know this one goes in, excuse my brain, that way. And I think it would be best if you push the top end in first. And then you try and, this is where it all goes horribly wrong. Get it on the bottom end, there you go. That's that one in. Same again, top end first. And right glasses on, can't even see what I'm doing. There you go. That's them in. Right, they're in place. Now, our piston, because this is brand new, is pushed already back, but if you were replacing pads, for example, here's the old caliper, you can see how the piston is sticking out. You would have to force that back. You do that in various methods, but if you've got ABS on your car, it is suggested, if you can slacken off your brake nipple, that you do so. That's not the right spanner, but you can do it anyway. You slacken it off, right, and then as you push the piston back, fluid squashes out. That won't let air, just pushes out the fluid. And some people don't bother, just use a bigger clamp of that, which grabs there and there, and as it's squeezed gently by winding it in. It just, you can put a pad in against it, like an old pad, like that. Put your clamp against it, squeeze, and then push the piston right back in. Okay. Right, back to the job at hand. You know, set of combination spanners, you get the whole set, cheapest chips, and I'm not saying they're wonderfully strong, probably aren't, but they certainly do the job. They're easy enough to buy, and they're lovely to use. So, as I said, tighten up your bolts, your slide bolts. This is what the caliper is actually sliding on. So, get them up, snug them up quite tight. And remember to do all these things, because your life depends on this. Right? So that's just to tighten up. Now I'll go back to my ratchet. And I'm going to get, yes, just that. Okay, this one's a bit more tricky to get on because the handbrake cable comes in. Get it on. Damn it. There you go. Time again. Now, they're tight. See? The caliper can still move. That's the way the caliper should be able to move. Remember, that's got silicone gel in there. Slide. That's what stops your brakes from seizing on. Because, well, here in Scotland, there's that much salt on the roads in the winter. And this wheel, especially, it's like front brake pads and the rear brake pads. It's nearly always this side that wears out first because it's always running in the, you know, the side of the road, in the dirt, the salt. Anyhow, now it's been sitting here and the bleed nipple is just loose, so because I've made it loose, and I'm just letting it gravity feed, right? And I've got an old rag, dirty filthy rag, lying on the ground just to soak up any fluid, and I'm just letting it feed itself out. I've got no one here at the moment to help me bleed it. One of the ways to bleed it is you have a wee spanner, put it on the nipple, and someone inside pushes the pedal down to the floor, out comes stuff. You hold it down, you shut the nipple, you let the pedal up, then you put the pressure on again. When you put the pressure on again, you open the nipple, more fluid comes out. And you close the nipple, pedal up, and you keep going until all the air is expelled. And really you're only going to have air on this one side because I've never let it soak air in. I haven't drained the whole system. The other way to do it is buy a self-bleeding kit or jam jar, the hose that fits over the nipple, and there's the other end in the jar. Okay, ideally you want some fluid and something for the jar to sit on. Right, I'm going to encourage this on by going into the car and pumping the brake pedal because I want to push some fluid through into that jam jar there. So I've just left the nipple open and I'm going to go in and pump the pedal a few times. Right, hopefully, because that end is under the fluid, and no air goes back up, and you tighten up that nipple, okay? I know that's only finger tight at the moment. That's enough. Now I'm going to tighten it with a spanner, and now when I pump the brakes, I should push the pads out. Right, there we go, we've played it. There's no more air to come out. Remove this now. Take it away. Put it there. Keep it safe. Sure the bleed nipple's tight. Don't over tighten it. They can be sticky to take out. Various methods to loosen them. Some people put a bit of heat. Some people just put a spanner and just keep tapping with a hammer, and eventually you break the seal. And if you don't break the seal, you break the nipple. Sad news. But it can be done with a bit of care. Anyway, what's left to do? Just check. You've tightened everything. Yes. The other ones are tight, and then just gonna probably, I think that's about all I want to say. Really. It's the Mitsubishi Galant, and you know, you look on the internet, every other car you can imagine, very few articles about Galants. It's a 2001, and it's quite a good car, but I've never replaced a caliper in my life. Every caliper I've ever had that seized, I unseized it, but not this one. It refused to unseize, so I've given up and bought a new one. First time for everything. So now let's hope I've cured the problem. If not, I don't know where to go next. But I'm sure that feels good because I've already worked the brake pedal and the pads came out, I've touched it and it's released. So that's looking good. There's only one way now to find out, and that's put it all together and go for a test run. So I'm going to leave it at that for the moment. Well, you should torque the wheel nuts. I suppose you should torque every bolt, but you know, just obviously don't leave them slack, because that's not good news. And since this is an exchange unit, I have to put the old caliper back. Yeah, and I should get 60 quid back, so that's good. I've got a shock absorber to do on the other side. The brake pads have been done on the other side. The caliper's fine on the other side, so but you should always replace the brake pads in sets, front, back, whatever. But if you do one side on the back, do the other side too. You get four pads in a box anyway. There's no point in doing one, having this one good and that one not. You get a brake imbalance. And then when you go for an MOT, you put it on the rolling machine. One wheel will be braking better than the other or whatever. So you buy a set of pads, replace them in sets. You can keep two old ones just for an emergency. When something stupid like that happens. I think that's about it. Now I know for most people this is blindingly obvious, but put on your wheel nuts, and when you tighten them in a star pattern, because otherwise you can tighten up one to excess and the wheel maybe not be on dead straight. It might bind up on the centre part. Do it in the star. This one's got a lock nut. These things are a pain in the neck. If you lose the thing for taking the lock nut off, it's screwed, but you can take a pair of mold grips, force them and grip them, undo it. Some of them you have to break off. Let's see, just tighten it up in hand, and it is better to torque them. I have my torque wrench set, I can't remember what it is, 98 pounds or something. I don't know. Just make sure that it's on right. Got a neat torque wrench. Spent most of my life without it. Common sense gives you an idea how tight it should be. You put it back on the ground to tighten it. You can only tighten it so far when it's like this. You can do that. Go to the other side. Do that. So you know that it's seated. And you can put it on the ground and remove that lock thing and put it back in your glove compartment. There's nothing worse than a wet night and you can't find the damn lock nut when you need to change the wheel. It's always something. That wee rubber cap goes on the top of your bleed nipple. You don't have to put it back on, but it's better if it is on because it keeps the dirt out. Guess what? I didn't put it on. I think I can do it from leaning over and putting it in, but there's no point in me trying to film it. Right, don't forget that wheel nuts are better to be torqued. So this is set at 98 pounds. Just push it down till it clicks. Right, and now we've done all that, we've bled the brakes, so just make sure your fluid level is correct, and mine is, back up to the mark. Don't overfill it, because if you overfill it, the next time you push the caliper back to put in new pads, just push the fluid out all over the place, so that's fine.